Every day, what are the sort of general rules that you can follow that'll give you, really good health, and that'll provide a great base. Some of us might trend more vegetarian or towards, avoiding some sort of allergies or something, but this, again, is just sort of a great base. So of course, we'll all agree, lots of veggies, whether that's, our green spinach and broccoli, things like that. That's great to include, every meal if you can, even breakfast. We have, all the rainbow colors, your carrots, your, oranges, once we get into the fruits and stuff like that. Again, it's trying to hit all those colors of the rainbow. It sounds sort of cliche, but there is something to that. As we get into different fats and stuff like that, people sort of shy away from the fats, but I think especially for athletes, but even for general health, there's a lot of good fats and a lot of good benefits we get out of those. So things like your avocados, your extra virgin olive oil, and the third one I like to always go with is the coconut oil. This is the biggest tub of coconut oil you may ever see. But you can get them in much smaller sizes as you try and get into the coconut oil world. From there, things like our herbs, our garlic, for the immune system and just general health, awesome to include there. What else do we got? For our athletes, around our workouts, before and after, maybe even during, we have our standard potato. I like to peel those, just sort of helps out with digestion and stuff there. Sweet potatoes, all different colors, all different brands, or types of sweet potato. You're gonna get a lot of bang out of that, and that's where a lot of the carb source should be coming from, I think, for most people. Then we get into protein. Eggs are a simple, easy one, whole protein. Everyone likes eggs. Your beef, grass-fed if you can do it. If not, just look for your leaner cuts in the supermarket. Again, getting that protein in there, help you get recovered. From there, that's sort of our base. How we can maximize our races, and I think I'll broaden out even our workouts, because I like to really think about races the same as workouts. We should really be trying to, as close as we can, maybe at least a few times a week, thinking, the same pre-race, pre-workout routine. So this time you eat, what you eat generally, and then how that leads into the workout, and then what you eat during the workout, in your intensity, your key workouts, and then into after, how do you recover? Whatever you drink normally, it should be sort of your general rule. But I like to use sort of the standard water bottle sizes as my rough rules for before, during, after type thing. And I wouldn't do much more than like 2 of these in the morning of, unless you're really early in the day. So these are 25 ounces or 750 mils. So just enough to keep yourself hydrated, but don't use it as sort of a nervous crutch. So on to food, general rule, 3 hours before, we like to get in a meal, not too big, a little bit of protein, a little bit of carb, avoiding your fiber and tons of fat. So this isn't the time for your jumbo coconut oil thing, or tub of coconut oil, but we might be, breaking out maybe a bit of yogurt and some cereal, some eggs and some oatmeal, some rice from the biggest bag of rice in the world. Or, with some other type of protein, there's nothing wrong. If chicken goes down okay and we're 3 hours out, I do that quite often. And then what you might do as you get closer to the race, maybe 10 minutes before the race on the line, you pop a gel and then you get into the race, which we'll talk about in a second. Some people might feel a little better, especially if they have a shorter race. Insulin response isn't such a big deal. An hour out, they might do like a Cliff Bar. This is a Cliff Builder Bar, so it's a little more protein heavy, but I think Cliff Bars might be a little better bet, but you'd have to gameplay that again in your training and see how that works. For those not doing grains and stuff like that, the Laura bars are just sort of a nut fruit bar. Again, just a little bit of food in there just to keep you topped up. There's nothing wrong with even an hour out, especially if you're doing a longer warm-up, to start into, a bottle with some, some heat, some sort of sports drink. But I just be careful in that hour before that you're not sort of spiking, your blood sugar and stuff too early, but that's sort of our main goal. Just enough fuel to keep us topped up, but not so much that we're, gonna have a stomach ache or have that food coming up later once we get going really hard. So we have a special guest today, Carly Gendron, who is a road superstar from Canada. She rides for the Specialized Mazda team, has claimed victory in 6, that's more than one hand, sprints in the Tour of Delta. So this girl can sprint, maybe outsprint me. She can outsprint me. So anyhow, I thought it'd be cool to get a female perspective and maybe a little road info here on some secrets that maybe us mountain bikers don't know. So, some rapid fire questions here is, what is your standard pre-race meal?
Pre-race meal, like 3 hours before, usually rice, sweet potato.
Wait. Like rice from the biggest bag of rice in the world?
And then about an hour before is a bar, like Cliff Bar, and banana. Banana's always pre-race.
Banana. Forgot the banana. It's a great one for sure. Very popular.
And a gel usually about 20 minutes before the race and on the start line.
Alrighty, so during the race, we're going to focus in here more on our cross-country racing, so very, very intense. You know, we're sort of in that 45 to 90 minutes type range, maybe even up to 2 hours, so it should be quite intense. So generally, solid foods we're not going to do during the race because we're going so hard and the time sort of to take in that food isn't really worth it. What we want, if we are eating food and if our race is getting, you know, to the point where we need food sort of over that hour type duration, is more our liquids or our gel type situation. You know, you might have some person who does run bars, that's fine, but the general rule is just the easiest to digest, the quickest sugar we can get into is just to keep, you know, the body running at that really high intensity. So again, we'll just deal on rules of thumb here. So we'll start with water. Our standard bottle sizes are 16 ounce or 500 mils, and our 25 ounce or 750 mils. You know, small, big bottle, don't worry about the numbers, are sort of our general rule. If it's not too hot, we're generally doing one of these an hour. You know, if your laps are shorter, then you might do half bottles or something. If it's really, really hot and you need to be taking in water, then I mean, I think the most you'd want to do in an hour generally is up to this 25 ounce. If you're racing in someplace crazy, again, this is something you'd have to gameplay, but our general rules, we don't need, you know, buckets and buckets of water. I find myself more sort of maybe 3/4 of this per lap in a standard cross-country race that I could be putting on by Chico. And you run pretty well with that. So then we take our bottles. So generally we'll be running, you know, let's say 3/4 of this up to the full bottle for an hour. So during those hours then, we want to get some sort of fuel. So that's where comes in a product like Hammer Heat, or, you know, Cliff makes the same sort of deal, whether it's gel or in powder. So what we want to get is about 200 calories an hour, give or take, maybe 180 if you're a smaller person, and up to maybe 260, 300 calories if you're a bigger guy or really going hard, really elite sort of trained athlete who's been, you know, training their body to take in that many calories. So again, keep it simple, forget about the math. Generally, our powders are about 100 calories an hour, or 100 calories per scoop, sorry. And we have a bottle for an hour, so we want 2 scoops per bottle. So if we're running half a bottle, you know, you might do 1 scoop per bottle, pretty easy stuff.
Like during the race, usually about 45 grams of carbs per hour and a half. Bottle of water an hour, usually with some mix in it, and just constantly eating, usually gels or bars.
Okay, and that same thing. We got our bottles, we got our 45 grams, which is going to equal just under 200 calories an hour. Seems pretty common. They're great, but I don't think you need to use them in O-cups. I think you're really losing some performance with them. Common excuse is, I don't know how to drink out of a bottle. I think the solution to it is not to use a Camelback, but to learn to drink out of your bottles. Second reason is that they don't have any friends or family at the race to feed them. There's self-feeding devices you can easily make, look it up on Google. But also you could join a club, make friends at the O-cup. I think it's really worth it not to use the Camelbacks and learn to drink. There's a reason the fastest people use the bottles. I want you to be the fastest person. Alright, we finished our race, so now what we're thinking about is tomorrow, or our next workout. How fast can we get recovered so we can train again? You know, the beverages, the shakes and stuff. So Recoverate, great product, fairly clean in terms of ingredients, and it's great. It definitely accomplishes the goal of replenishing our sugar and getting us recovered really quick. You know, after a race, if you have to drive right home and you don't have access to good food, that could be perfect. You know, it's going to prevent you from really breaking down and having extended recovery. So that could be perfect. A lot of people, I think, do better with, you know, it's cheaper, it's more tasty. You know, do something like, you know, if you're into yogurt, and again, some cereal, that's a pretty common one. Maybe even just leftover breakfast. I mean, same deal sort of works pretty well. You know, for a lot of workouts, as weird as I am, I go sort of a sweet potato with maybe some beef or some fish or something. You can get a lot of canned fish that's pretty good quality. You know, I'll do that for some workouts if it's not as crazy, but generally for races, I'll be hitting sort of a Recoverite or a chocolate milk, or maybe that sort of milk-based yogurt sort of thing with some cereal is going to hit you well. Again, you can pull out, you know, there's lots of pre-made bars and stuff, but generally just trying to get a bit of protein and a bunch of sugar in there to help yourself recover, and looking at, you know, as close to that race as you can to maximize that recovery. So that 30 minutes post window is sort of always the general rule, and maybe again within 2 hours, you know, if it is a big race and a big effort and stuff, to get that recovery maximized. And afterwards, anything special?
Usually like yogurt, chocolate milk, something protein-based bar or banana. Sounds good to me.
Closing. Just thank Carly for coming here. Like I say, great inspiration and advice for all the young females, and all the females and even the males, because some of us obviously have something to learn from Carly. So enjoy your racing, guys, and good luck with the rest of your clinic and your race tomorrow. Any special advice for the female racers out there?
Not really, just that nutrition is really important and that it can really help in your performance past training.
Sure. So it's important to eat, and I think that's probably a really good message, is just generally eating enough to support that performance is a big deal for sure.
And don't eat too late.
Like before the race?
Or like in the race. Like okay. Don't leave it till like...
Right, yeah. So fuel early if you want to win that sprint later. That's probably going, not on the last lap type.